21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
My name is Stefan, and I am the CEO of alts.co. We are an alternative investment newsletter, community, and investment fund. We got started during the pandemic. This was a COVID baby, like so many other businesses. Not a whole lot to do here where I live in Melbourne, Australia, on the weekends during COVID for about 4 straight months. So I decided to start doing what I do best, which is writing. And I started a newsletter about alternative investing. And the newsletter was on Substack, and it had the angle I took was around micro private equity, buying and selling websites, and assets under $500,000. This is a world that I knew pretty well by virtue of the fact that I had worked at Flippa and Flippa.com, a marketplace for buying and selling websites. And it seemed like the definition of an alternative investment to me, and one that I wanted to make more people aware of. So I kind of started going down that path and exploring the angles there. The funniest thing happened, though. Around that time, there was another newsletter written by a gentleman named Wyatt. And Wyatt, like me, is an American who happens to live overseas. He lives in Spain. I live in Australia, like I said. And so we started communicating online just through Twitter and stuff like that. He was a big fan of what we were doing, what I was doing, I should say. And he had his own newsletter on Substack covering alternative investments. So in a way, he was kind of a competitor, but he was taking a different angle and approach. He was focusing not on digital assets and micro private equity, but he was focusing on collectibles and sports memorabilia and cards and stuff like that. And at the time, that was really starting to gain a lot of steam. So it was a really interesting kind of thing we had going on, where we were, fans of each other's work, but we'd never met in person. And then one day we decided to meet, and we just had a Zoom meeting, and we basically just decided to join forces. And, we both realized that we were, both good writers, and we wanted to bring this sense of alternative investing due diligence to the world. And we also wanted to start an investment fund of our own. So we decided to join forces pretty much right then and there. And we combined the two newsletters into one, and we ended up going out and getting funding for our venture. And so we were able to raise from a mix of angels, folks in the community, and venture capital for our venture. We ended up raising in 2021. And since then, we've grown, quite well. So we are actually up to, we've got, across all of our different newsletters, we have just shy of 250,000 subscribers as of today. We've got our investment fund. We've also branched out into all sorts of different new things. Some of them don't really work out, and that's okay. Others have worked spectacularly well. The newest thing that we're doing is we're putting on investor field trips, expeditions. And our first one is going to be in Mexico in February of next year. So it's an investor trip to Mexico where we learn about investing in Mexican real estate, venture capital, startups, infrastructure, tequila, all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, we've come a long way since our early days, starting out on Substack, and really look forward to what the future holds.
Stefan, can you tell us about the unique partnership between you and Wyatt at Alts Company? What makes your collaboration successful despite your different backgrounds? And how do you manage the challenges of working remotely?
We're very different. It's interesting. We're very different people. So we have different backgrounds. I come from mostly California technology companies. Wyatt he's an interesting background. He's comes from finance. He worked in London. He also he was an Army Ranger in the military. So he has a military background, which is basically the exact opposite of me. We're very different. We have different skill sets. We're both. I mean, the stuff we have in common is more important than the stuff we don't have in common. But I like to think of us as kind of complementary, kind of co-founders, right? So there's things that I'm not good at that Wyatt's awesome at, right? And there's things that I'm good at and he's not great at, and that's okay. I mean, we really try to complement each other in that sense. So I think it's one of the best decisions we ever made. Really, is I knew I wouldn't be able to kind of do this alone. I didn't really want to do it alone. I've started businesses in the past that I just tried to do everything myself, and it's fun on some level, but it also is very limiting. And you just, you need someone you can trust and someone that has the same goals as you do. And just that drive, that desire, that work hard, that hard work and that hunger to succeed. So yeah, Wyatt's perfect in that way. And yeah, I mean, we've, I'll tell you, it's not easy though, because, we're both very far away from each other and, we see each other once, twice a year, but, having a remote first company is tough, and so we do the best we can, but to make things work. But yeah, it does have its challenges for sure.
And how do you and Wyatt effectively communicate? How do you balance the need for daily interaction with the division of responsibilities?
We make sure we chat every single day. We are constantly going back and forth on Slack. That's kind of our home base for everything. It's less about the tools, though. I mean, there's a million ways to communicate these days. That's not tough. I mean, what's tough is figuring out what to talk about when you do interact, right? Because we can't spend 3 hours on the phone each day, right? Together. We have stuff to do. It's about setting real, clear expectations and division of labor on certain tasks, right? There's things that I'm just in charge of, and there's things that Wyatt just takes care of, and we mix that a little bit, but for the most part, it's just, we gotta split the labor up somehow. I think that it's because we're not constantly, chatting. You lose something. You lose that kind of just in-person camaraderie and, I hate to say like water cooler chat because it's a little, it reminds you of an office or something, but that stuff matters. It matters a lot. And so, but on the plus side, there's no wasted time, right? Like there's no just beating around the bush when it comes to when we chat every day. It's like, here are the 5 things I need to talk to you about, right? And what do you have for me, right? So you just distill everything down into the most important things and don't waste each other's time. So it's pros and cons.
Given the unique path Alts company is on, how do you determine which direction to take the company? Can you share the primary goals that guide your decision making?
There's so many possible directions to go and, angles to take. And, we don't have a lot of what we've done has never really been done before. So there's no exact playbook. We're kind of writing the playbook as we go. But, I think as long as you both understand the true north goals and, keep your eye on that big prize, that's the most important thing. So for us, I mean, it's such a simple business in many ways, right? There's nuances and complexity, but at the end of the day, it's basically like, look, we have 2 main goals. One is to grow the community, grow the subscribers, grow the community, because that leads to number 2, increased revenue. It's not quite as cut and dry in this, but at the end of the day, more subscribers generally does equal more revenue, plain and simple. So yeah, it's a growth game that we're playing and a revenue game, and that's really it. It's just balancing those 2. And we've done a pretty good job. We've fallen into a pretty good groove on balancing those two, and we've figured out some really great ways to kind of hack our growth and grow pretty darn quickly. So we're excited.
And what about you, Stefan, as a person? Are you happy and satisfied with your life, with your day? What's your daily routine?
Yeah, I love my life. I mean, I'm busy as hell, that's for sure.
And you love it, yes?
Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, it's a little, for me, it's like, this is definitely the, I found what I just want to do, right? Like, this is awesome. I love it.
And that's my question, because as a real entrepreneur, you need to love it. That's it.
Oh yeah, I definitely love it. I mean, there's no question about it. It was always tough for me to work for someone else because it's just tough to get motivated to butter someone else's bread and to help someone else's bottom line. Like, yeah, I think that there's something to be said about the reliability of a steady paycheck and all that. But the thing is, I mean, that's ultimately less important than what drives you to get out of bed each morning, right? And there's there's times when you're growing a business when you're not, kind of steady and you don't have that steady income, when it's nerve-wracking as hell, but once you get going, once you build up to a point where it's like, all right, like, this is definitely like a sustainable enterprise. Yeah, it's a great feeling. The thing is, you never rest, you never relax, I mean, you're basically just because there's always more to do. It never ends. And as long as you love it, that's fine. Wyatt does a better job, I think, than I do of taking time off. Part of that also, he has 3 wonderful kids that require a lot of time, and I think that's good. So I don't have kids of my own, but I do try to emulate Wyatt in terms of clearing my head and taking time off, and it's actually kind of tough for me to do. But I understand the value and importance of doing it. So for me, it's my key is kind of travel. That's what clears my head, and that's what kind of helps me self-actualize. And the interesting thing is that, like, with this company, travel is actually a pretty big part of what we do. There's community members all over the world. There's investment opportunities all over the world. So yeah, I mean, every time I travel, it's an opportunity to meet new people from the community and meet new investors and potential clients. And yeah, I mean, that's what frankly, I love the most. So, a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, you're still working even when you're on holiday. And I say, yeah, but it doesn't really feel like work in that sense. I mean, it's pretty special to be able to, plan a trip, let's say to London or something, and, reach out to 2,000 people that are in your community that live in London and say, hey, I'm coming through town. Do you want to meet up, grab a coffee? And yeah, I mean, dozens of people will reply and say, yeah, I'd love to. And you meet all sorts of people that way. I mean, and this is for every city you go to. I mean, that's an awesome feeling. That is a great feeling.
Could you explain what the Alts fund is? Who can invest in it? What kind of unusual investments it makes? Mm-hmm.
So the Alts fund was the first kind of big initiative that we took on after we raised venture funding. The fund is a Reg D fund for accredited investors anywhere in the world. It's the kind of fund that we don't really have any competition for this fund. There's other alternative investment funds out there, but we are investing in stuff that most funds wouldn't look at or touch with a 10-foot pole. I mean, we're out there buying, rare vinyl records. We're buying barrels of tequila, wine, whiskey. We are buying rare artwork, British modern artwork. There's all sorts of fun stuff. We concert posters, right? We bought the world's second most highly valued concert posters. We don't actually have sneakers yet. We're waiting because the sneaker market has fallen, so we're waiting on that. But yeah, I mean that's in our yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's eclectic, esoteric stuff that most people in funds don't think about at all. So it's a 10-year fund. The idea is not that you get out in a year. We're looking for stuff that is, I like to say, criminally undervalued in the long run. So this is long-term 10-year fund. It's a 1% management fee that we have, so it's low, right? Even though there's not a lot of other funds like that us out there, we're still, we want to keep the fees low. We actually, as a company, don't really make a lot of money off of the fund. That's not the idea. The idea is that we're already researching this stuff anyways. Like, we're looking at these esoteric, eclectic, exotic markets just to understand them for our own sake. And then every now and then we realize, hey, there's an awesome market in XYZ. Let's consider buying into that for the fund. So the fund is it's a rather small fund. It's only a couple $1 million, right? But that's actually a good thing too, because it allows us, we don't have to deploy $50 million worth of capital into something and overpay for it. Like, we can just be strategic about, what we buy. And that's exactly what we've done. So yeah, the Alts One Fund it's an important part of what we do. As far as the bottom line goes, it's not a tremendously huge part, but that's actually by design. We want to, like, we're talking about the stuff anyways. We want to bring people along for the ride. This is a way to do that.
Can you describe the unique strategies your company uses to grow its community and subscriber base? And how does your company's alternative culture influences these methods?
The key with us, our culture is alternative, right? So, I mean, our entire MO is don't be mainstream. So everything we do, we try to take a slightly different angle, and that bleeds into the culture itself. I mean, this is we're unconventional by design, right? And this is in how we think about things and how we think about solving problems. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, so most newsletters and most kind of companies like ours, when they're building community, there's a couple different ways to grow. You grow organically, that's authentic and fantastic, but it can be a little slow. There's, you basically can market yourself through different channels. We obviously do that. We do a lot of that. We do a lot of affiliate growth. So we have a lot of affiliates that we work with that bring in new community members, new subscribers. But the biggest thing that we do that I wouldn't say nobody else does, but it is definitely under discussed, is we actually go out and buy other newsletter communities, right? So we've bought 6 or 7, I can't even keep track, other newsletters. And then we fold those people over time into our main community. The biggest ones, we just bought 2 stock equities focused newsletters that have a combined total of 110,000 subscribers. This is all in the past few weeks, right? So this is the biggest deal we've ever done. And like, there are definitely other people buying and selling newsletters as assets out there. We're not the first, but we're especially suited for this world because we both have a background of deal analysis, right? That's such a huge part of what we do. So we know a good deal when we see one. And that includes buying other newsletter communities, right? And then also just in my background, working at Flippa, I actually started Flippa's first due diligence program. So really understand the world of buying and selling digital assets in a way that a lot of other people don't. This world's changing quickly. More and more people are getting wind of the power of micro acquisitions, micro media acquisitions. we're by no means alone in it. We are definitely among the better suited companies to really take advantage of this movement, and we've certainly done that. So if you're interested in the world of alternative investing, head on over to alts.co, alts.co. Just sign up for our newsletter. I think you'll like what we're putting out there. It's well-researched, well-written, and I think you'll agree. So we'd love to have you in the community. Head over to alts.co.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.